G'day YouTube. Don't you just hate those jobs that in your mind you think 20 minutes or less, that's all this simple fix should take. And then 2 hours later, you're covered in band-aids because you've cut yourself bleeding on this stupid thing. It's not working, it's not spinning, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. The easy fix is suddenly dragged out into hours of frustration and potential pain. Well, this happened to me recently, and thankfully my very cluey brother-in-law swung by and spotted the problem in less than 60 seconds. So roughly a year ago, the belt on our dryer went bang. Actually, to be more specific, it went snap. And it wasn't actually around when it did snap. What had happened was we finished up a load of washing, we threw it in the dryer, we started the dryer off, and everything was green light. The motor was spinning, the drum was spinning, the clothes were tumbling, the heat was coming through, everything was getting dried slowly. Roughly an hour later, I swung by just to check on how things are going, and that's when I noticed a bit of an issue. I could still feel the heat coming out of it, fantastic, but the drum wasn't tumbling anything. It had just stopped. And when I opened it up and spun the drum freely, it moved without an issue. And I thought, oh, I reckon I know what that is. I reckon that's a belt problem. Either the belt has slipped off or it's broken and it's time for a new belt. Now, when you get to this particular scenario, before you do anything, two thoughts naturally come to mind. Oh, do I need to call in a repair person? Wait a few days. Hopefully it's an easy fix, a cheap fix, and hopefully they've got the part for this particular model on hand. Or if you're like me, there is also option B. I do like DIY. I do like doing things on the cheap. I don't really have money at the moment for a repair person. I wondered out loud how hard it would be to open up this dryer, have a bit of a poke around, see if I could find out the problem myself and see if I could fix it on the cheap. And that's exactly what I did. First thing I did, or first thing I tried, is Googling a disassembly manual or guide for this particular model. And there isn't one, at least no free one that I could find easily. And so I put aside an hour of time after work one afternoon and took the tools to it and got it open. It took quite a few little bolts. I had to use a tiny little socket. I've only got one. I keep losing it. It's somewhere around the shed. But I got the back off the dryer. I opened it up. And what did I find? Well, first thing, lots and lots of fluff. So much fluff. So I vacuumed that out. So, you know, there's that fire hazard or potential fire hazard gone. But I also found the belt where it had snapped through at one part. And I thought, okay, brilliant. It is the belt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on eBay or Amazon. I'm going to order myself a new belt and follow a guide, hopefully, to put this on and get this job fixed. How hard could this be? So I jumped onto eBay, found the belt that I was looking for, cost me 15 bucks. Okay, no worries at all. A couple of days later, it arrived in the mail ready to go. And before I decided to pop it on, I thought I'm going to jump onto YouTube and I'm going to watch a couple of guides of people doing this just so I know the right direction that things are supposed to go, because it has a pulley, it has a tension spring, it's got a couple of little parts, nothing major, but let's make sure I'm putting it on the right way the first time. Very, very important. And so linked down below is the actual video that I watched of someone else doing this belt repair. And I have to send a massive thank you to him, because even though it's a slightly different model than mine, it is the same brand of dryer. And it turns out it was pretty much exactly the same way to put this belt on. So I was very thankful to have someone to watch first and then go, it goes that way. And so half an hour later, I had the belt on, I had everything ready to go. I powered it up. It squealed a little bit, took a few cycles to stretch out, but eventually it worked. And I was so proud of myself. You know, those jobs where you're like, yes, this is the first time I've ever worked on a dryer and I fixed it. Fantastic. This is great. Until about a month ago. So my daughter came to me one night and said, Dad, the dryer's making weird noises. Well, what weird noises? Well, it's making squealing noises. And I thought, uh-oh. By the time I got there, it had stopped squealing. It had just stopped. Again, the motor was spinning. The drum certainly wasn't. And I thought, oh no, what happened here? What's broken now? And so the next day after work, I took the back off to have a bit of a look at, and the belt had come off. The belt was still intact, as a circle, but for whatever strange reason, it was 70% complete now. There was a decent chunk taken out. It looked like the family dog had actually gnawed on it. And I went, oh, what happened there? In my mind thinking, geez, I must have gotten the cheapest belt ever with really cheap materials that have just worn away. They just don't make belts like they used to. And so I thought, okay, fine, fair enough. I'll order another belt. And hopefully this time around, I won't get one from a defective batch and it'll be just fine. So a few days later, the next belt arrived. I got my son to help me out, got him on the tools. Together we put this new belt on, except I forgot the tension spring, which had spun off or flung off somehow while the squealing was going on. It hit itself behind a circuit board. I completely forgot to look for it. We put the new belt on, put the back on, we put all the screws, all the bolts in, all the fasteners on, had it running for about 20 minutes, all was good, and then all of a sudden, without the tensioner, everything went slack and the belt came off. And I went, oh no. Okay, take it apart again. I'm getting very good at, and faster at taking the back off it. I found the tension spring hidden behind a circuit board and it rolled behind there. Okay, fantastic. There's all the parts that I need. I'm going to repair this. This will be the last time I have to touch this infernal thing for at least a year. Hopefully this belt will last. Off we go. The problem was when I put the latest belt on and I put the tension spring on and I tried to spin the drum, it wasn't moving. And I thought, what's going on here? What's it catching on? There's nothing obvious here. And I took the belt off and I tried it again. I put everything on the way I'd seen it on the video below and how I'd done it previously. And nothing was spinning and it was driving me crazy. I was taking everything out and putting it in there, trying to seat it perfectly, making sure that everything spun. But as soon as I put the belt on, as soon as it got connected to the pulley and the motor, it basically locked in place. And I thought, oh no, am I going to need a new motor here? What is it that I'm not seeing? And I hate to say this, but I spent 2 hours doing this process. And at one stage, I managed to slice my finger on a bit of metal in there. So now I'm bleeding on the dryer and I'm bleeding on the washing machine. And if I had hair to pull out, I'd be pulling it out. I was starting to get sweaty and getting very, very annoyed. You know those situations where nothing's working and you want to kick the absolute smack out of what you're working on. I really wanted to set fire to this dryer. But I've been in this situation before, those frustrating times where you just go, maybe we need to take a break. Maybe we need to take a time out. I'm going to sleep on this. The problem is going to be something obvious that I'm missing. I'm just going to go away. I'm going to go and do something useful. And I'll come back and I'll have another look at this later. And so I threw the back of the dryer back on. I put a couple of bolts on. I put all my tools nearby for when I got back to it later. And it wasn't until 3 days later, during Easter, when we had some family over that I thought, oh, hang on, wait a minute. I've got an ex-mechanic as a father-in-law. I've got a very handy brother-in-law. Surely one of them can figure out what's going on and solve this issue pretty quickly. So we're sitting out the back post-lunch and my brother-in-law Trev is telling me this story about a washing machine that he had, or maybe it was a dryer. I can't remember which white good it was, but it was having a problem. It was falling to pieces. And what he did was he actually took it to pieces, but then saved all the parts because he thought maybe I could use these bits and pieces for something else. Anyway, they bought a new dryer or a secondhand dryer and one of the bearings went out. And luckily he had some bearings spare in the shed. So he pulled parts of the old one and put it in the new one, different models, but fixed the problem. And I said to him at the time, okay, you fixed that. Well, I've got something that I want to show you. See if you can fix this. Are you ready for your next challenge, Trev? And it turns out he was. We walked into the laundry. I took the dryer apart. I leant it over so he could have a good look at how things were going, pointed out what was going on. I tried to spin the drum to explain what the situation was. He took one look at it, less than 60 seconds, and he goes, oh, it's that pulley. That's the problem. I said, no, it's not spinning right. He goes, no, it's the pulley. And I've pulled it off. Here it is. And right now, it looks fine, doesn't it? I said, how can it be a pulley? He took it off my hands. He goes, there's the issue. The huge chunk that's taken out of that pulley. Now, I have to confess something. Originally, when I put the first belt replacement on, I didn't look at this properly. And for whatever reason, I thought it had a flat recess in there for some kind of reason. I didn't realize that this was actually getting eaten and worn down. I had no idea. I'm looking at the belt, I'm looking at all of these other problems thinking, no, the pulley was designed this way. Surely that's not the issue. He just took it and laughed. He said, it's just been falling to pieces and you need a new pulley. Which means that even though the belt was obviously in need of repair a year ago, if I looked at things a little bit more in detail, I took this off and actually had a look at it, because when it's like this, you can't see anything happening. You can certainly see the belt going in, but I thought that was normal. Yeah, probably could have saved myself a little bit of frustration. So the moral of the story is, if you get to that point where frustration is really kicking in, things aren't working, get yourself a handy brother-in-law to come round and have a look, because now I'm going to order one of these parts. I've got a belt that's fresh and ready to go, and between the two of those things, I reckon I'm going to have a working dryer for at least another 5 years. But Trev, I can't thank you enough, and I kind of wish I called you in months earlier just to have a bit of a look around. But hey, lesson learned. I know what I'm doing for the next time. Well, hopefully when this is fixed, there won't be a next time.